Silent Night is an action thriller that has come out this holiday season. Supposedly being a Christmas film, this film takes place around Christmas, after, and before. That's because the film itself pretty much takes place over the course of a singular year. Directed by John Woo and starring Joel Kinnaman, it's a film that's pretty much one that we've seen in this kind of realm before. Familial trauma, leading to a revenge quest that culminantly leads into, a bunch of people being killed in horrible and brutal ways. We've seen quite a few of these in the recent years ever since John Wick came out, and honestly, this film is basically a sort of watered down, holiday esque John Wick type film. The difference is, though, that John Wick you can pretty much watch at any time of the year. This thing, this Silent Night, you could also watch pretty much any time of the year because despite what it says on the poster, the trailer is basically kind of a falsehood. The film is not this sort of like upbeat but dark sort of social commentary with like maybe bits of levity mixed in with all the violence and the headshots and all that. It's actually a very somber film to the point where honestly I walked out of it far more down than I thought I would. But I do think that Joel Kinnaman did a pretty good job despite not being able to utter a single word, and in fact, nobody utters a single word in this whole movie. I kind of respected that for all it was worth, but I feel like the film maybe should have been shorter or someone else should have talked because in a film that's completely without dialogue, you really got to have some good action, or at the very least, you have to have a good storyline because we have seen this done before. I mean, we all know that film started off without any sound at all. I mean, Nosferatu, not a single word or anything, just background music, but it's still a fantastic and timeless story. With this, though, I feel like the biggest issue we have is that it just doesn't have any personality. This movie did not feel like a John Woo movie at all. It didn't have any doves, which is a crime in and of itself. It has a bird, but it doesn't have doves, which doesn't count. But its action is good. I think it's well shot. I think it's well edited. It looks really good. I mean, there's some CGI blood. I prefer practical, but CGI blood can be good if it's used in small quantities. However, the film itself is so dour in tone, it's so like just depressing that you honestly can't even really feel any sort of emotion aside from sad. It wants to be kind of like a over the top 1980s action film where, this guy goes after and he starts hunting after everybody who wronged him, and he's going to get his revenge in brutal ways, and that kind of is what it is half the time. But the other half is this sort of almost really depressing character study as to what happens with people who have to deal with loss. And, his son gets capped at the beginning of the film, and it's really sad, and it really sucks. And it's like, okay, that's a really, really good way of getting the ball rolling. Let's keep going with that. And then he gets shot in the throat. It's like, okay, let's keep going on with it. So you have your title, which is kind of creative. You have your setting, which is like East LA. But then the problem is, it starts to get really slow, really fast. And, it's a lot of the montages and such. It's basically if you took John Wick's like first, I guess like fourth, where he's trying to be a civilian, and you stretched it out to like 2/3 of the movie, and then you never stopped. And like the last third of this is basically the second half of John Wick. However, the problem with John Wick was that it was just too awesome for its own good. This film's problem is that it doesn't have enough of that John Woo silliness. If his name wasn't on the poster or in the credits, I could not tell you people that this was a John Woo movie. In fact, I would say that someone was like ripping off John Woo in this. It doesn't feel like the master of disaster like this. I mean, the guy directed Mission Impossible 2. That was a fantastic film. As stupid as hell as it was, I absolutely enjoyed it. This, I did not, however. And if I had to give it a grade, well, I would probably say maybe like a 5 out of 10. It's not the worst film ever, but I highly, highly doubt that someone needs to run out and see this in the theater. And you know what? As I always say, support your theaters, but don't go out and see this if you don't have to. I mean, watch it for like the holidays, but as I said, if you changed a few things in this, it wouldn't be a Christmas film. It's barely a Christmas film. I've seen films that have nothing to do with Christmas that feel more Christmassy than this does. But yeah, I would say it's a good film in certain bits, but don't rush out and see it. As always, people, stay good.